Okay, JC is going to show us how to assemble a car unit. And this is a new type of unit that just has two gravitational magnetical coils. We've got them wound and all GANs coded right here. We'll go through those as we do this. And JC has the one side in his hand here.
Okay, these are just PVC end caps for pipe. These ones are for water or air pipe. You can get the black ones, doesn't really matter. When you install your system, try to put it in a place that's not going to get hot. Okay, you want it, if you've got like a rear engine car and your battery's in the front, you can put it up under the hood, that's fine. Keep it away from the engine, keep it away from the heater cores, blowing hot air, that sort of thing. You want to keep it cool as much as you can. That makes the assembly process and the construction a lot simpler because you can use hot glue. You're not going to have issues with plastics melting, any of that sort of stuff. So if you're using plastic for the systems, just think about where you're going to put it so that it's away from heat. Okay, now we need to drill for the wire that's going to come out of each side. One side's going to goes to the positive of the battery, the other side goes to the negative or some ground in your car. We'll discuss the grounding strategy at a later date. Right now we're just going to assemble the systems so that you can see basically how it's done. This is one way to do it. This isn't the only way to do it. If you have a drill press and a vise, use a drill press and a vise. If you don't, try to find some way to control this so that when you break through with the drill, this thing doesn't go flying across the room or bite you on the butt. I can use this as a clamp, and you just hold it up against it. Hold it against something solid so that it's not going to move. It's controlled. Don't try to drill like this. It's not going to work for you. Some people can make it happen if they're really good, if they've got lots of experience. If you don't have a lot of experience, tie this down so that it's not going anywhere. Where you put the hole is totally up to you. Think about your coils. Think about how you're going to assemble it. You don't want the wire right at the end where your coils are. You kind of want it up a little bit, maybe. I put it right in the middle just because it looks nice. Now when you go to drill, you're drilling on a curve. So the drill is, if it's not exactly in the center, it's going to want to wander. So what you do, set it in there and then push down. Make a spot with the drill so that there's a dent there, and the drill will stay in the dent. And go slow because you don't want to melt the plastic. And that's it. It's that easy.
So for this car unit, we have two of these.
Yes. One on each side. And make your hole just a little tiny bit bigger than the wire that you're going to use to connect the systems, because you want the wire to be able to go through there easily, and then once it goes through there, you glue the hole closed. I'm going to use cyanoacrylate glue for that, just because it'll get right down into the hole. You can use silicone, something like that. If you're going to use like a silicone or a hot glue, slip the wire in. What can I use to show this? This wire has no insulation on it, but you'll get the idea. Slip the wire in, put a blob of glue on the outside, and then push the wire in so the glue gets pushed into the hole. Don't try to squirt it into the hole because that's just a nightmare. Or you can do the same thing from the inside. Put it through farther, put a blob of glue on there, and then pull it back out so the glue sticks, and then let it sit and harden if you're using silicone or something like that. Simple, easy, doesn't take a lot to work with. Alright, now, mounting your coils. The coils are wired slightly differently. One of them, the side for the negative, you're wiring to the magnetical, or the gravitational, inner coil. The positive for the battery goes to the gravitational coil, or the magnetical coil. Why do I get these screwed up all the time? So one side's going to be positive, one side's going to be negative. They can be whatever you want. Now, when you hook it together, think about how you're going to mount your GANs in the center, and just basically try to be neat. Okay? So I'm going to have the hole here where the wire comes in. I want it as close to this as I can get it, so that it's, you know, it's not a big mess of wire in there. It's nice and compact. Other than that, you just hot glue, down it goes. We have found in Peru that silicone causes issues over time, so we're trying to avoid using silicone. With hot glue, if you use the low melt stuff, you're going to have issues with heat, big issues with heat. There is the possibility of a fire hazard if something goes dramatically wrong, but the chances of that are pretty slim. We're trying to get away from hot glue if we can. At this time, basically that's what we've got to work with. You can use a two-part epoxy, like a fiberglass, a polyester resin. That seems to work okay. We're experimenting now. We're trying to find what works the best to secure these coils, because the environment they're going in is very violent. There's lots of vibration, lots of impact, and you don't want the coils to move. You don't want them rubbing together. You want to secure the entire system into a block or a solid mass if you can do that. Other than that, we'll be back in a minute. I got to heat up the gun, get the glue ready, and then we can come back and I'll squirt the glue in and show you how that works.
Make a central sun for our two car units here, and we're using two different sets so that we have a different gradient between the GANs. So JC's going to coach me here on about how much of this paste, this GANs paste, so...
That's plenty.
That's plenty. Is that too much?
No, there is no too much.
All right.
Do you want it just like a pea-sized blob is all you require. That's all that's needed. Yeah.
And then do we fill this up with water?
You can.
Or just leave it as paste in the middle?
You can leave it as paste in the middle. That's how they do it in the factory. Or you can fill it up with water. That's how I do mine. It really doesn't matter. I think the water is going to stabilize the field a little bit. And if you're going to do water, just smear that all around the inside. Just paint coat the inside with it, and that way your field it's a coherent shape, and it's all nice and centered. And I don't know if it matters. Probably doesn't, but
you're following intuition here.
I'm following intuition, and I'm having fun.
Okay, got that in there. And we'll probably put a little water in there. I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for the next one, we're just going to choose. Carrie's made a whole bunch of beautiful, awesome Ganses here. And
it's nice to have a difference. You want a gradient in there. You want your heavier GANs on the side, the radiating side, and the lighter GANs on the collecting side of your system.
So the CuO2 would be a heavier GANs?
Yes.
So we're going to make this a little bit heavier, this side. So we'll put a little bit more of this in, as opposed to CO2. And do we have...
I don't see any CH3 in there, but
no,
I've got some.
We've got CH3 right here. Oh,
okay.
We've got all three of them here.
Okay.
That's a great little bottle, found at a hobby shop. Get these little bottles. Oop, oh.
Yeah, great little bottles that leak.
Great little bottles that leak.
So use the leak.
Okay, just putting a little bit more in there for that. It's going to be a lot. GANs on that. Mr. Rick. Okay, are all these C GANs here?
No, the two tall bottles are CMs. They're for exchanging from the two oceans.
Okay. So can we use a little bit in the vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Got kind of, some of the clear liquid is coming off the top, so.
Not a problem. And again, when you're mixing your ganses like this, just use your intuition. We don't have numbers or what works best. What, you know, we know we need a gradient. What kind of gradient we haven't discovered yet. So the more people that test and play, the more data we have, and the sooner we'll be able to say that this is how we want it.
All right, so do you use distilled water when you fill these up?
Yes, I'll get you some distilled water in a syringe.
Okay, so JC's put together some distilled water in the syringe, and we're just going to fill these up here, and careful not to let it tip here. And then, how do you feel about having any air? So we're going to
I don't think it matters, frankly. Because we're gluing the tops, we're probably better off to leave a little airspace.
These are little containers from a paint set that you can get at a hobby shop. They come in a row and you can cut them up. And the lids seal pretty good on these. We're still going to glue this shut.
And there you go.
There, shake it up.
I don't think shaking it matters because it's going to settle out anyway. But I think the water is going to just stabilize the field a little bit.
Right.
It may be a connective thing as well and connect it to reality a little better.
So this is going to be our heavier GANs, and this will be the lighter one. So the heavier is going to go with the magnetical.
Heavier feeds the other.
Oh, actually, yeah, it's going to be the heavier is going to go with the gravitational.
Yes.
Towards the center. The gravitational wire is going to come out of the smaller inner coil, and then the heavier on the lead that comes out of the gravitation, the magnetical.
Right.
All right. Keep those separate so I know. Here's that one goes with this one, and this one goes with this one.
All right.
So how it's going to look in here, this is going to go right in the center. So as we hot glue it, we'll put it in there. Maybe we should cut these extra little pieces off the sides.
Well, we just hot glue lid down.
Yeah. These things are kind of hidden the sides.
Yeah, but you hot glue it lid down.
Oh, lid down. Okay, gotcha.
And then it won't matter.
All right. JC's gluing the lid down so we don't have leakage here. With some Gorilla glue. What kind is it again?
Cyanoacrylate, CA glue. It's super glue. You can use pretty much anything, this sealant or something. This is kind of overkill, but it's all I have at the moment. Your fingers, this stuff is instant and you will not get loose.
Around. All right.
This, without pressure or two surfaces mating together, it takes a long time for the glue to dry or to harden up. So you'll need to be patient. But it does work. It will seal these and they won't leak.
There we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about the wire now that we're connecting our car units with. And this is already marked wire. This is stranded wire. And JC started it nano coating. You can see it's nano coated down a little bit there. And can you tell us a little bit about the wire, JC?
Well, that's it's speaker wire or house lamp wire. They call it lamp cord. I use speaker wire because it's polarized. It's got one side is got a mark on it, so it's easy to tell the difference. You don't have to rip them apart or you know, use a meter to find which wire is which. We use stranded wire for hookups because I believe it's more efficient. There's more surface area in the nano coating, so if there's a flaw in your coating, it makes less difference. causes less problems because there's more options for the flow of the plasma. If you use a solid core wire and you get a flaw in your plasma, you got a large percentage of your flow area that's not going to work properly.
And how does plasma flow through this?
It flows through the nanocoating itself.
Okay.
The copper is just structure.
Okay.
Once it's nano-coated, the copper has nothing to do. You could remove it and it's not going to make a difference. Other than your nano-coating is probably going to crumble because it's very fragile.
Okay.
Right.
We're working on a way to solidify that. So who knows? We'll see. All right. So the super glue isn't quite dry, but we're okay. It'll dry over time. What we're going to do, because these little pots have things sticking out and issues that we could deal with. You could cut them off and make them all nice and neat, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to glue them in upside down so that the tabs and stuff are at the bottom. And that'll make things easier. Now, you can be fussy with this and mark it out. If you look at the system, you probably see, you won't be able to see it on camera, but you might see mold marks, little circles, or a dent or something like that to indicate the center. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in the middle. So get your hot glue gun nice and hot. Make sure you got glue ready to go.
What's the difference in this kind of glue then?
Okay, this is heavy duty glue. This is a high temperature glue. It's very, very strong. It's very stiff. It's very solid. It's going to take a long time to cool off and solidify again, but that's not a big deal because we got lots of time. You try not to use this light colored stuff, the really soft, flexible stuff. The low temperature, the light duty glue, I wouldn't use that if I could avoid it.
So this is the box of that heavy duty glue there.
Yeah, that's just a Canadian brand. We get it from a place called Home Hardware, and it's relatively inexpensive and it works pretty good. The only problem is they're a little bit short for this gun, but that's not such a big deal. I need to squirt a little glue out to glue these sticks together. Come on.
Yeah, and feel free to join us. There is a ticket charge for that.
No, I want a blob on there. And let's see, that's the dark stuff, that's the light stuff. So
This would be.
well, it doesn't matter. We haven't actually set the polarity yet. So that's not necessarily a big deal.
So that one that you're doing would be the heavier one.
This one here. Yeah, it's darker. Okay. All right. That's that. Now we want to glue those on. I just want to
Wow, that'd be awesome. Let's just see how it goes.
check and make sure that's going to work for me. Yeah. Okay, good. So
No, it's the same thing. There's a teachers meeting, which you could potentially join us. But let me
just a
email you that.
bunch on there. And drop that in
Yeah, that's it.
to squish it down into the glue. And you want it stabilized so that it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
And you don't need a huge amount of glue, especially with the heavy duty stuff. You don't need a tremendous quantity of glue.
Here we go. Let me take a picture. Alright, number 2.
Oh, I like this gun. Barely drools, which is so nice. is. Go in there. Smush it down nice.
So what's that extra wire hanging out in the middle?
This one here, because on your coils you have two, an input and output wire. The one that's not being used, coil it up and put it on your
Top of the center sun?
on your GANS ball.
Well,
Lee Coates did this and he had really good results, so we're going to continue with it. If somebody comes up with a different idea, try it, see if it works better. Okay, that goes in like so. And then, oops, come back.
So you're gluing the coated wire inside. It goes inside and attaches to the nano-coated wire from the coil. Pulling it back through.
Yep, just to make sure that some of the glue gets down in the hole. And you want to seal it up. You want to, this is as much to seal it from the weather, from moisture, from bugs, whatever else, as anything else. It also keeps the wire on there so it can't rip out. You can tie a knot in it. That's another way to do it. That's the old way to do it. This should be good enough. This hot glue, this glue is amazingly strong, so we should be all right as far as that goes. Where'd the hole go? There it is. Now we just let that sit and cool off. You can go on to the next step. The next step is going to be connecting these wires to the coils themselves. Now, you need to think about the plasma flow. The flow is always going to come from the magnetical to the gravitational, to the magnetical, to the gravitational, to the magnetical, to the gravitational. So your connections need to reflect that as well. So you look at the energy flow, and at this point the energy flow is coming from the negative on the battery, that's the source of electrons, into the gravitational. So the connection, you look at the connection as a separate system itself. So the end of that wire, the end of this wire, for, is it this one? Yes, for this side, which is going to be attached to the negative of the battery, this is the gravitational wire here. This is going to be considered a magnetical connection. This is going to be considered a gravitational connection. So this wire would wrap around, this would become a pin. Oh, wait a minute, sorry, other way around. This would become a pin, because that's where the energy is going to that gravitational end, being radiated out to the magnetical and continuing on. So you would take this wire and wrap it around this one, using this as a pin, and then terminate the end of this properly. This side would be the opposite. This would be your pin. The wire coming off of the magnetical coil would become a pin. This would become a magnetical coil, so the flow continues on. I hope that's clear. Probably not, but we'll be clarifying better later. Sorry about that. All right, we done. He's reacting to the energies, actually. He's curious, wondering where all this energy is coming from.
There's Ruff. He's checking out the car unit.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. That's right wire. Okay, that's not ideal, but I think we're okay.
Okay, so JC's connecting the
Gravitational. And okay, so the magnetical. Yeah, these connections, they're not ideal. They should have been built into the coils before they were nano-coated, so I'm doing it kind of wrong so I don't damage the coating as much as I possibly can. But we should be all right. Okay, and we're going to fold that back down into there. Oh, like that. All right, now since we've damaged the coating, we need to rebuild it. So I got to go get a paintbrush, and I'll be back in a minute. It's critical that you rebuild the nano coating. If it's damaged and you get a matter state connection within that where the damage is, you're not going to have a plasma flow, and it'll never correct itself. So if you manipulate the nano coating like I did here, get yourself a natural paintbrush. I prefer horsehair. I wouldn't want to use plastic. Plastic and caustic tend not to get along unless it's exactly the right stuff. And if you're going to transfer energy into the system, I'd rather have the energy of a horse than the energy of polypropylene. And basically you just wet the paintbrush and then paint your connections. Just wet them down with the caustic and let them dry, and that will begin the repair process of the nano coating, and you will have less issues with your systems in the long run. It takes a few minutes for that to finish up, but you're going to wind up with a really nice looking nano coating, a nice black. That's what you're looking for, is super, super black, nice dark coating. If it looks like a hole in reality, you've done it right. If there's no reflection, if it's blacker than black, that's perfect coating. But that's really hard to achieve, so don't freak out if you can't. And something that we've noticed, I just want to show you while I got this thing open. There is occasion where the copper just simply doesn't want to coat. And the way to fix that is just keep working it, keep coating it, keep doing the process over and over and over again. It will eventually cover that copper. I don't know why. It could be contamination in the copper. It could be something that's on it, in it. We're not really sure why that occurs. But it does happen occasionally. If it does, it's not the end of the world. Just repeat your coating process until it's fixed. And you should be all right. So we're going to let that sit and process for a few minutes, let it dry, and then we're going to glue those connections down so they cannot go anywhere. Because of the environment this goes in, it's you want to be able to have this so that you can throw it across the road and nothing will happen to it. Because it's always in vibration, it's banging around inside the car. Diesels are worse because they're low frequency vibration constantly through the systems. Off-road vehicles are really bad because they're bouncing around all over the place. So you got to make the system tough. It has to be able to handle that kind of abuse. And the girls put some hair in there to link these systems to themselves. Blood, hair, skin cells, who knows, that anything, any part of you that you can put into this is going to connect it. Because I'm building it, I'm connected to it. Because I'm putting my energy into it. And I don't think it's going to make a difference with the truck. Because Carrie's hair is in there, if she asks the truck, or asks the plasma that's in her truck or in her van now for something specific, she's probably going to have a better chance of getting that. Because she is connected to it. So yeah, we'll wait for that to dry, and then we'll glue these connections down, and then basically we're done. We glue the two halves together, and that's it. Install it. I don't know if this is going to function finally overall, but I want to control this wire so that it can't cause an issue, because the way the system is designed, the two sides are never connected together, and we want to make sure they stay never connected together. So I need to control these two wires, and I think what I'm going to do is just put a big gob of glue in there and then embed it in the glue so that it's away from the coil. It's not touching the coil, but it can't go anywhere. And that's my plan. So we'll throw in a big gob of glue, get some glue on that, and then just push that down into the glue so that it's kind of on a standoff, and let that solidify, and then I'm going to put a big layer on top of that again. And it looks like it's about a 1/4 inch, maybe. It's hard to say from this angle. But the idea is just to give it some structure so that it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, this is again, I want to try to cool this off, so I'm using something that gets really cold when it blows out, and I'm just going to blow air on it and freeze that quickly so that the glue stays in a big lump and doesn't just drip away. Let go. Thank you. And now the other side, I'll kind of manipulate that a little bit so that it's something like that, I think. All right. So, big blob of glue. Cool it. Hear it boil. Get that stuck in there. Put some more on top. There, and now they're controlled. They can't go anywhere. That glue, you'd have to melt that glue. I don't know what the temperature of this glue is, 180 degrees, 200 degrees. Probably higher than 200 degrees, because they can use it for boiling water. But when that gets nice and relatively solid, so that's relatively solid. That one's got a little ways to go yet. Feel how cold that is.
Oh, yeah, that's really cool.
So a nice bead. If you've ever done caulking, you'll be good at this. If you haven't, it's going to take you some practice, because it is a bit of an art getting that a nice smooth bead on there. And again, you want to seal this up to the weather. You don't want water, moisture, anything like that getting in there. Then we put them together. And remember, you got one chance. If you don't do it right the first time, you're not going to get a second chance.
You want to remember which wire comes out of which side too.
Yeah, so make sure when you use polarized wire, use wire that's marked. You can see it's labeled. One side has got a stripe on it. That stripe is for the negative terminal. The way I wired this together. And you don't have to do this, but I'm just making it neat. there's a spot right here that it didn't ooze out enough, so I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Oh, this is good glue. There. And we have a car unit. Now I'm going to go a little bit beyond what's expected, and I'm also going to secure that wire with some glue so that just in case this gets dropped, it doesn't yank the wires loose. Because I don't want to have to open this thing up again. Ever. And that freezes the glue. Now, I didn't bring a marker with me, did I? No. I also want, just out of safety, I want to label, let go of me. Hot glue, sticks to everything. I want to label on the actual case which side is which. So that way, if the wire gets damaged and it gets cut or something is in here, you lose the insulation, it gets black, somebody paints it. You always know which is which.
JC's just etching in the negative and the positive.
And I'm scratching it right into the surface so that it's no chance that it's ever going to go away. And I'm labeling it 2 battery positive, 2 battery negative. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see that if I get it in the light just right. If you bring the camera over about here.
Yep, there we go.
And then if you want, you can put Sharpie on it and scratch it, and the Sharpie will go into the holes and make it black and easy to see, but that's okay. Okay, so that's done. Negative to battery positive.
Cool. Let me take a picture of it.
Carrie with her new car unit.
Wow,
Look
this
at
is
that.
amazing. So cool. Thanks, you guys. How awesome to have a couple of tech whizzes like you two work on this. I'm going to take a picture of it too.
You're confused, aren't you? Here, give me a hug. Give me a big hug. Thank you. What was it? Mooch, dude. What a good boy you are. Oh, thank you. Oh, yes. Very nice boy. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. The proper place, but not such a good spot for the one.
Looking for a place to install.
I'm looking for a ways to feed the wire through. I guess that's probably the spot right there.
But it's only a 4-cylinder motor. Would that make sense?
Because it's working hard constantly.
Yeah. So you think this might
Yeah,
help
that's
it
better.
not work as hard?
Probably. I think there would be some aspect of that. Okay. Now your wipers will work.
Okay. It's handy. Useful. I was wondering if you're going to do that. Oh, you're doing that. Interesting.
Do the dangerous side first.
Is that the positive?
Yes. And if you've got a wrench on there and you bump into that, or that, or that, it goes spark.
Wow.
that way to tighten, so I'm going to go this direction. Oh, that's ugly. That's just asking to break.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's just a really bad way to do the connection. You should be alright for the time being, but...
Right. What is it that needs to be fixed?
Everything is going through that little thin piece of metal.
Oh, God. So that's a new piece. I need a new piece in there?
You need the right kind of...
I mean, I might get it off of a used one of these, do you think?
Well, no, it's a generic unit.
Okay.
You need the right kind of battery clamp. This battery clamp is a joke.
Okay. So if I went to...
Oops, sorry.
Should I, like, go to Napa and ask for
If you
it?
walked into a service station where the guys have any clue and showed them that and says, I need that fixed, they'll put one of these on there.
Okay.
And all of this would be connected like this is.
Okay.
So it'd be a good, solid, hard connection.
All right. Are we scared? Should we be scared?
Scared? Don't be scared, it's just my beard. Ain't it weird?
See, I wouldn't even know that looking at that. Things you don't know because you don't know.
Maybe?
Oh, come on. This is exciting. Exciting, exciting. And so you looked at your wires and knew which one was positive and which one was negative to hook. How did you know which one was positive? The white one has white on it.
Yeah, they're
So
polarized.
that's the positive, right?
White is negative.
White is negative,
If you look right there,
right?
you'll see the plus sign.
But okay, I gotcha. So white, I thought white was negative. That's what I thought. Actually.
Well, I did it that way specifically for this
Okay.
installation.
Okay.
It's also why I wrote right on there, 2 battery positive, 2 battery negative.
Perfect. Okay.
So there's no confusion.
Okay.
If you move it to another vehicle, somebody else puts it in, they're not going to hook it up backwards.
Okay.
And if they do, it won't do anything.
And how did you know? Do you know how he knew which one it was?
He just chose it when we put it together and marked it.
But I mean, how do you know which set of
The
coils?
gravitational is negative.
The one that comes from the smaller inner core
Right.
is the negative, and
Okay.
the one that comes from that outer larger coil would be the positive.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, here we go. What is
Should we
today's
charge
date?
it up?
Fire it up.
Fire it up.
Let's fire it up.
Fire it up.
Let's see the smoke.